Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Foreigner Footy Files. I'm Natalia Pinkney, and this is episode 12, World Cup Wages Up. All right, this week is a special episode focusing on the Women's World Cup, of course. I mean, it'd be a bit of an injustice to not speak on the Women's World Cup on a women's football podcast. So, we're going to get into a bit of politics, if you want to call it that, aka equal wage and rights. So we're definitely going to talk about that today. But of course, before we ruffle feathers, Russell as in Wilson? Before we ruffle some feathers, time for a poem that is a piece from my path. This poem is titled, My Job is a Game, but My Life Ain't. Respect. We are taught you gotta give it to get it. But what happens when you're the only one giving? Feeling like I'm on a one-way street, waiting for the other to cross my path, yet we never meet. Is it not abundantly clear? The drastic levels of stress and fear when your whole career is dependent on papers, documentation, and risking things you hold dear. We're told to have patience and wait. Just put our trust in men and fate. I mean, to you, I'm just a woman not from this land, holding almost no control in my hands. When all I ask is for a simple, hey, here's the plan, or sign here. You know, make me feel like you really want me here. Put yourself in my shoes. Hours, days, weeks, and no news. When all you want to know, and people out here playing poker. Man, let your cards show. For this ain't no game of chicken. This is my life, my job, everything I've invested in. So please, give to me what you wish to receive. You know, treat others as you wish to be. Alrighty. I'm a couple days late on the deadline that I said that I would put out the next episode, but still. 2 weeks. We basically back on track. So as the title makes it quite clear, we talking about World Cup and the wages need to go up. And like I said, it would be criminal to have this podcast talking about women's football and not speak about the Women's World Cup, but not only speaking about the Women's World Cup, what is happening with it, things happening behind the scenes, things that these women's national teams have been doing, fighting for things that in 2023 we have no business fighting over, but here we are. Of course, it's still an issue, and I just feel like the Women's World Cup has become increasingly popular. And of course, the Women's World Cup is in Australia this year when I don't live there anymore. I lived there for 3 years. And now they decide they want to have the Women's World Cup. Fine, no problem. I don't feel any type of way about it at all. But what's dope about this Women's World Cup is I actually know a fair amount of women that are playing in it and who are involved in it. So not just playing, but working on newscasting shows speaking about the Women's World Cup or working for the different companies that are helping to set up the World Cup. I just know a lot of badass women working in football. I just want to make that, a little news point. I know a lot of badass bitches out there. You know what I'm saying? And I hope nobody takes me saying bitches as an insult. It's not an insult. I love y'all. I'm super proud of everybody who has the opportunity to either play in it, work beside it, follow it, whatever. Mad cool. Absolutely mad cool. And there's one thing that I actually don't really think about often, but I've met and played with and played against and even grew up with women playing at high levels all around the world. And it hits a little closer this go around with the Women's World Cup. I think that the World Cup is peak, you know what I'm saying? Like that is when you know that you've made it. The World Cup, highest level. I mean, you're playing with your country's national team and, for me, I don't know any of my personal heritage outside of the half of me that is native to the American land, so the tribe that I'm from. But in terms of my African American side, I don't know what country or countries my ancestors come from. And I would love to know, because it would be absolutely dope if it's one of the African countries that is playing in the World Cup. Or maybe I'm able to tap into those ancestries and I could maybe play, with those countries in the World Cup one day. Why not? Because, no shade, but I know a lot of white women that just be tapping into their heritage right quick and slipping on some national teams. And you know what? Why not? We should be able to. And like I said, it's no hate. I'm congratulating. That's absolutely good. Find a way to get yourself high up, because let's be real, especially as Americans, it's hard to make our national team. Like, I think I've said it before, but a big reason why I left the States and why I don't really have a huge desire to rush back there is just how political the professional side of football is. And it's political everywhere, but it's just super tied to money and popularity and who knows who, instead of just being a good football player. So yeah. But compared to my career, that's not productive. Comparing, where I am now and other people, like, comparing yourself, it's pointless. It's a waste of time. It puts you in a space where you feel like you're always behind or could be better or striving for more. Your career is what your career is, and you are where you are because that's where you're meant to be. And as long as you fight hard and you work towards the goals that you are aspiring to have, you'll end up where you're supposed to be, and that will be at a high level if you work for it. So don't compare yourself to others. It doesn't help. It's going to put you in a spiral of things that you cannot control. You can control your career a big portion of the time, but you have absolutely no control over someone else's career. And putting yourself into a mental state of, oh my God, I wish that was me. But it's not. So harping on that and, keeping that as a motivator, it's counterproductive. It's not going to work because you will never be in their situation. Even if you make it onto the same teams or the same level, your career will still never be someone else's. So don't compare. Just congratulate, observe, and, stay in your own lane of your own goals. But it is a hard emotional aspect of, making friends and traveling. Obviously, like I said, I support them, but also it does hit when you're like, damn, must be nice. But also people are probably thinking about where I am now, like, oh, must be nice, playing in Germany and blah, blah, blah. So really appreciate where you're at and always remember that there's somebody else looking at your career, which is you're doing to somebody else, and then thinking, wow, look at where they are. I'm so proud of them. That's super cool, because we're all at different levels and different stages of our career. So there's no point in saying, ooh, I want to be like that. I want be you, play like you. Your career is meant for you the way it is. So support your friends. Women, support women. Support each other. When you see somebody on a TV screen playing for a high-level team, cheer them on. Like the post, share it, let people know, because it's hard enough for us out here when we're not supporting each other. Let's not make it any more difficult. We already know the men don't be supporting us and promoting us as they should be, so we need to do the work. We need to pick up the slack, and being jealous and thinking, oh, this, that. Support each other. Just support each other. But I am thankful for the close friends and, keeping me in check about not comparing. I do have one amazing woman, friend, baller, human, everything that comes to mind. Her name is Kat. She actually was featured on the podcast recently, about a month or so ago. She was one of the young women that came here for the football combine. And as I mentioned, she signed to a team in Mines, and we actually played against each other this season. Got to see each other on the pitch, off the pitch, and we just stayed incredibly close throughout this entire time. And she has been there for me through some shit moments, like rough times, but always acts as a voice of reason, a sounding board, and can relate. If you ain't got a cat, or if you ain't got someone similar to a cat, I'm gonna need you to get you a cat, one or more of them, because this season was a all right. And she definitely helped me. And it's something that we have together where we remind each other of the realities of, hey, you're here and you deserve to be here, and you're going to be further than here. You're going to keep going, keep working hard, back yourself, all of it. We're there for each other. And I think every women footballer, especially foreigners, we need that. We need people like that. And, there's another person that I met this season who happened to be a teammate. So, lucky team gave me one of my best friends ever, Lena. Lena's basically like a little sister to me. We have absolutely no boundaries. We are insanely comfortable with each other, safe. I love her family. And, I'm very, very thankful for her as well. I could always be honest about how I was feeling with the team, or, as just a foreigner here, whatever the case may be. So with Kat, because she is also from the States, we had that commonality of both being foreigners and women playing here in Germany at the same level as Americans. And with Lena, I was able to speak to her as a woman playing for Saarbrücken, and she understood the dynamic and the area and things like that. And she speaks English really well, so we could always communicate, and also spoke in German too, because, got to learn the language. But I had, two sides of a helper, I guess, if you want to say. And that brings me to like a quick side note. If it's possible in a new country, as a foreigner, make foreigner and domestic friends. I cannot express how helpful and comforting it was to have really close friends that were able to relate to me in every aspect of my situation. So with Kat, as I said, she's American, she's a woman, foreigner, here for the first season. We just had so many base commonalities, on top of the fact that we just get along like a house on fire. So when we needed somebody to check us or check in with, we always knew that there would be a place of understanding and open-minded and no judgment, because we had both been there in different ways. We have different experiences. I definitely think that our football careers, they parallel in a lot of ways, but they definitely differ. And for me, in a lot of big ways. But at the end of the day, the base stuff that matters, we had an understanding. And with Lena, for her being able to communicate with me, in my language, was super helpful. But then also having somebody who knows the area, as I said, and knows the ins and outs of how things work. And she's been around the block, like she knows almost all the players in the league. She's either played with them or against them, because when you grow up in an area like that, Regionalliga is literally playing teams in your region. So you are playing against women that you probably grew up with or have played with or against your whole childhood, and now you're developing into professional football players together. So it was really helpful to have her to speak to about frustrations and confusion, because she was able to explain things to me from a clear view as a German woman, saying, okay, I know you feel this way, or it seems this way, but this is most likely what it actually is. So obviously don't force things. And if there aren't any foreigners, well, kind of will be hard to make foreign friends. I mean, I'm sure you can meet foreigners on other teams, and if you're close enough in public transport, you can stay friends. Maybe somebody's got a car. Dope. Link up. Have each other. But if that's not the case, where I've been in that situation before where I was the only foreigner, point blank, period. And it does hit hard to be that only person, but just do your best to make relationships and to find people that can be in your corner, because it is career changing, absolutely career changing. But anyway, back to the World Cup, what we're here to talk about. This year, tickets have been selling like hotcakes. Sorry, that's probably the most American thing I've ever said. But they are selling quick. Like, when I tell you, man, each year more and more and more support is coming out for women's football. But this World Cup, they been making money, y'all. All right, these tickets have been selling. And I just want to give a few quick facts for y'all about the World Cup this go round. The national team's involved in some things that have probably been going down that you have no idea about. So this year, they have actually expanded to 32 teams. In the last round of the World Cup, it was only 24 teams. And in 1991, when it started, there were only 12 teams. So we doubled up from 1991, and then now we've added in 8 more teams to have 32, and that's a lot of debuts. That's a lot of national teams coming in and showing you who they is and showing you that they deserve to be in the World Cup, not once, but more than once, twice, 3 times. And it's been cool to know people who are playing for countries that are making their debut. So countries like Zambia, the Philippines, and Ireland. I know a woman, I think I might know. No, I only know one woman playing for the Philippines, and I know one woman playing for Ireland. So that's super, super cool to be able to see rosters and clips from the World Cup. And I'm like, oh my God, holy shit, I know her, you know? So cool feeling. Shout out to y'all. Super proud. But funny story relating to Zambia. So in Australia, we had a customer, lovely older guy, really, really sweet man, but he had dementia, I believe, which I don't think the dementia plays the role in the comment that he said to me or the question that he asked me, but it is a factor in the way that he always forgot that we had this conversation the first time. So every time he would come back in, we would have it. But I started working there and I was new, and because he was a regular, obviously he knew the entire staff. Despite having his memory issues, he still knew who worked there. And so he saw me and was like, oh, you're new here. I said, yeah, I'm new. And he goes, so where are you from? And I told him, Philly, the States, that's where I'm from. This man gonna say the next time he comes in, so how's the family doing back in Zambia? I wanted to laugh because, one, Zambia of all countries, I don't know why specifically it was Zambia, but it became a running joke in the cafe asking me about Zambia, because he would ask me every day that he would come in and I was working, so how's the family doing in Zambia? How is Zambia? And I was like, Zambia's good. It's great. Yeah, just another little snippet peek view of casual conversations and interactions I had with customers while working at that cafe in Australia. I was asked very interesting things, but yeah, I gotta check on the family in Zambia apparently, because I'm black, so clearly I'm from the motherland directly in Zambia specifically, according to this man, but not too much on him because he did pass away, and he was a lovely person, a good customer. He just apparently was really, really convinced that's where I was from, which again, I don't think the dementia has anything to do with the very racial undertone to that question. But yeah, as I said, we ain't gonna speak ill of the dead on this podcast. But anyway, moving on. Apparently, there is a host curse when it comes to the World Cup. So countries that have been the host have had the worst luck in the tournament. Usually don't make it past the first round, or just have issues competing, whatever the case may be. So let's hope that Australia and New Zealand do not run into the host curse this year. But for me, that's a no thanks. The U.S. was actually the only country in '99 to not be affected by the host curse. So shout out to the U.S. women's national team for not letting that shit apply to us. You know what I'm saying? Badass. We badass out here. But another fun fact, in the 8 World Cups that have been completed, there has never been a repeat winner for runner-up. So we have not had the same country win second place twice, which I think statistically and numerically, that's actually pretty astonishing in terms of stats. But yeah, we've had repeat winners. I think Germany and the States are the only repeat winners. But yeah, no one has repeated second place in the runner-up. So, dope fact. And only, like I said, so only U.S. and Germany were to defend the title. And this year, U.S. is going for the three-peat because we won last time, won the time before that. We going for the third. So watch out, y'all. The U.S., we coming through. Try to win that, get that three-peat. But after I saw the news articles and the highlights from the last game, I do believe we tied 1-1. I believe it was, and the coach was getting criticized because he made no subs in the second half, which, as a player, I've come into coaches that think like that, like, oh, if I make a sub, it's going to change the flow and everything. If you got girls out there that are dog tired, their performance is literally going down. Their touches are off, their fitness is fading, the drive is there, but they just don't have the physical capability to pull through in crucial minutes at the end of the game in World Cup level. If you don't make a sub, damn it. I mean, I get it. You don't want to mess up whatever cohesiveness has been building between the girls that are sure, maybe, but also no, because what are you also saying to your bench? What are you saying to the women that are waiting for their turn to play, that are good enough to play? Maybe you decide they're not meant for the starting 11, that's fine, but they are good enough to play. They're there for a reason. And you don't make subs because you think it's going to mess up the flow. What does that say to them? Oh, if I go in the field, I'm just going to mess everything up. What's the point of having subs then? Oh, they're only there in case of an injury? That's insulting. If you brought these women there to the World Cup and they are on the bench, that means that they're good enough to be on the field. Make the subs. Anyway, not coming for that man right now. I'm, got to stay in support. I support you in your decisions, sir. Just make better ones. But another fun fact. So the U.S. versus Vietnam. The U.S. made a world record with 6.26 million views. That's more than the Men's World Cup last year. So this year in the World Cup, the U.S. game versus Vietnam, record-breaking views for the States, 6.26 million. That's insane. That's a lot. That's a lot of fucking people. Damn. Football Australia is celebrating selling 1.5 million tickets. Damn. That's a lot of tickets sold. This is why I feel some types of way about people talking about, oh, women's football doesn't make enough revenue for it to be in support of making more money. I'm not going to get into it right now because we're going to get into it later. Anyway, more fun facts. The Women's World Cup this year is being shown in so many different locations. We've got, at least here in Germany, I know we got a lot of like open air free showings. Some bars are putting it on big screens. People are having World Cup watch parties, live streaming them on their TikTok and their Instagram. Like this year, Women's World Cup is making a lot of noise, and not just in the football manner. It's just people are waking up and paying attention, as they should, because it's a dope sport and women football is dope. We are dope. But it just feels like every year we're getting closer and closer to people understanding just how bullshit it is that things aren't equal. And yeah, the women's football is dope. It's entertaining as hell. And, that leads me up to the second part of the title of the episode, wages up. It's no surprise or mystery that women's football players are a bit pissed when it comes to our wages. Starting with some national teams still fighting for better wages. I believe it was the 17th of July. The Australian national team released a video 3 days before the tournament's meant to start, as the hosts, let's not forget, criticizing the gender disparity in prize money for the tournament. Now, I never really looked into prize money or like things like that for the World Cup. I just, as a fan of the sport, and obviously a fan of the U.S. being from there, playing in the tournament, I just kind of watched it and, hope my team won. But prize money, that's a big thing that has been unequal since the beginning of the World Cup, since probably the beginning of time for anything when it comes to women and men in sports. But this year, the Australian women's national team said, we ain't doing this shit no more. How are we still fighting for equal prize money for the same damn tournament? It's the same tournament, just in a different year. One for men, one for women. That is it. Why should the prize money differ? Just because of what we got going on in our legs? Or I guess lack thereof? Really? That's what we're doing still? Canada made noise about funding being cut to their national team, which is crazy when you think about how are you and why are you cutting funds to a national team of any sport? of any gender, cutting funds to a national team? How you gonna expect them to represent your country well and you ain't giving them the resources to succeed? Because then you gonna act all types of embarrassed when they don't perform well on a world stage. You gonna be talking about something, oh, they could have played better, should have been more prepared. Nah, you should have been more prepared. You need to be supporting your women's national teams. Give them their funds. Make me mad. The U.S. women's national team had a lawsuit for equal pay. I think that that one's a bit more known, I believe so. I think that fight has been broadcasted, televised, talked about quite a bit. So that one I knew. I believe that they won. I'm fairly certain that they won. And that was a big step in itself because you think about how many times the women's national team has won and the fact that they were still fighting for equal pay in 2022. Boils my blood. Anyway, South Africa's women's national team made headlines boycotting their send-off friendly match against, didn't write down who it was against, so sorry. But they boycotted the send-off friendly due to poor pitch conditions, and the South African Football Association was giving them nothing. Nothing. The men's team got $28,817 from the South African Football Association for losing in the semifinals in the African Cup of Nations. The women's team won the cup in the finals in 2022 and only got $6,715. The men haven't won since 1996. That's the last time the men won. So I'm going to run these numbers back just so y'all understand. The men won, didn't win. Can't say they won the money because they didn't win shit. The men got $28,817 from the South African Football Association for losing in the semis, not even the damn finals. But the women's team won in 2022 and only got $6,715. Insulting. And now the South African Football Association is giving the women's team nothing for going to the World Cup. How you gonna give them nothing for going to the World Cup? That's why they boycotted that shit. Because you got me fucked up thinking I'm going to play on a horrible pitch and be given nothing in support to go represent my entire country. Boy, if you don't get out of here with that. Coming back to the U.S. women's national team, the men's team is garbage. Let's just make that clear. And the men haven't made it to the finals since 1930. Let me check my right. 1930. They made the semis in 2002. Okay. The men were paid $2.5 million just for qualifying. And the women got $750,000. That is such a drastic difference. Men got paid $2.5 million just for qualifying. For qualifying, the women's team only got $750,000. This is why I'm thankful that they won their case in 2022. Because I just feel like if just hearing those numbers alone, if you hear the facts, if you try and keep all the background noise, politics bullshit out of it, when you just think about numbers in general, that doesn't make any sense. How are you still fighting for equal pay in 2022 after hearing those numbers? But regardless, they made their fight. They got their fight out of the way. They won their case. Equal pay it is because it's about damn time. As mentioned before, the Aussies have made noise, and as joint hosts with New Zealand, that's huge, absolutely huge. Also love that's the style. We're doing a little bit of joint play here with New Zealand and Australia. But Australia secured a 4-year deal for equal pay. So in the deal, the Matildas not only receive equal pay, they also receive the same level of coaching and support. So keep making noise out there, women is working. The Germans women's national team, going into this World Cup, they knew ahead of time they would be making $346,000 less than the men's team, who got knocked out of the tournament pretty quick, I have to say. So, the men's team gets knocked out hella quick, and somehow they're making $346,000 less than them, even though the German women's national team has won in a repeat, and they're qualified again for the tournament, and they go in here making less money. You can't make it make sense. I'm sorry. It's just embarrassing and unacceptable in 2023, in my opinion. Invest in us. It will come back. Invest in women's football. It's so clear that it'll work. It's clear. And we just won't do it. And I don't understand. But people are becoming more and more interested every day, every month, all the time. And women's football is damn good. And it's fun to watch, okay? We don't be falling on the ground crying like little babies like the men's do. Yes, I am throwing hella shots because it's true. We get up, bloody noses, bloody faces, you gotta force us off the field, for real. We don't mess around. We take it seriously. And on top of being tough, it's also skillful, it's intelligent, it's beautiful, it's elegant, it's entertaining, it's all the things. It's everything that you want out of watching a professional sport, or at any level watching it. It's exciting. And people out here talking about this, that, semantics about why we're not getting the same amount of money and this, that, and the third. Spare me the shit. It's an effort thing for me. I think that I understand all the underlying thing. Yeah, I get it. But if you have teams where you got clubs, right, where the men's team is on a higher level professionally, and they have a dedicated and committed following, and people are checking that page, they're keeping up with it, they watch the stories. If you want to make sure that your women's team can get more funding, have the men's team promote them. It's 2023, damn it. And we're still discussing equal pay and gender wage gaps. Like, we're still having these discussions. And we're selling over 1 million tickets. People are getting up at insane hours to watch the games because Australia is hella far. And the time zones are a bit hard to keep up with at times. But you got people committed to getting up at the ass crack of dawn to watch a game, or staying up hella late after a work shift to watch these games. Women are making history every game. You've got women out there on the pitch scoring their country's first World Cup goals. That's history. Don't play with me. Why are we acting like these aren't big accomplishments and we're just sweeping them under the rug like we didn't sell 1 million tickets? We got millions of people watching one game. Tournament ain't even close to being done. They're going to make revenue off of this shit. And then they're going to come back and run it back and be like, oh, well, it's just not as popular as the men. We can't seem to find the money to give the women extra. Get out my face. It's bullshit. I don't know all the ins and outs of business talk and politics, but I do know football and sports. And as I said, the men's teams, they need to invest in the women's. The club owners need to give a shit. It is a systematical level thing. If you know you have the influence, use it. But for the life of me, I just can't understand how greedy people, money-hungry people, can't see past their sexism to make more money. We deserve the respect and livable wages, period. If you invest in women's football, it's going to come back. It's being shown in all the major world tournaments that women's football is a part of, that people are interested. They do give a shit. They do want to watch it. But the people inside, internally, you need to give a shit. Invest in us. Put the word out there. There's so many clubs where the men and the women's Instagram pages are combined because they know the men's team is more popular or makes more money or whatever you want to call it. So they combine the Instagram pages so that if you're there to check out information on the men's, you are inevitably going to run into information about the women's team as well. That's how you do it. It's as simple as making a combined Instagram page, which in today's day and age is super simple level shit. Just put the effort in. Try. People want to see it. I mean, I've had friends from home who are sending me Snapchats trying to find when the women's basketball tournament was going on for college level. They couldn't even find the games. They're still showing things like darts which apparently is exciting, but why are you showing darts, men's darts tournaments in the middle of a college basketball tournament's finals? I don't care if it's women. It's finals. It's disrespectful. Put it on the main channel. It's everywhere. But women's football is undeniably popular. Act like it. Oh. Run us our money. Anyway, it's time for I Wish I Knew That. So, I wish I knew just how political women's football was. And I mean that in the way of, as I said, I left American football behind for a moment because of growing up and doing tournaments and showcases and trying to make it big and make myself known, realizing that there were just some things that were going to be in the way no matter how good I got. And I didn't want to have to play this game of I'm good enough, but my mom and dad don't know the right people, so I'm not going to get the spot. I didn't want to play those games. I didn't have time for it. I didn't want to take that emotional and mental toll. So I dipped. And it's still political everywhere. Definitely political everywhere. But national team level, professional level, like top league professional politic-based shit of it's all the background noise that's affecting things like equal pay. You have the excuses of, sponsorships and putting it on TV and people got to watch. They are. So when I'm traveling around the world and I'm playing in different countries and different levels of football and everywhere some bullshit political mess comes in the way of progress for women's sports, for women's football, the amount of amazing women's players that I have seen hindered by political crap boils my blood. Sports are about talent. They're about showing up, being the best of the best. And not everyone can be, but best team wins. So why do you have some of the best players in the world struggling for spots and approval and sponsorship just because we're women? Why are we having to work full-time jobs outside of football to be able to pay our rent, buy groceries? What politics could possibly justify that at the top levels around the world, women are unable to pay their rent? Pay for petrol? I can't think of a good reason. Tried to, can't. Doesn't make sense. On to the next segment. Trust me on this one. So, trust me. Women's football is worth it. Point blank. You know, the segments today are quite simple. You know, just invest. That was my stomach. Invest in us. Give us the attention that we deserve. Give us the sponsorships. Put us out there, put us in commercials, put us on whatever, which we are. That's another thing, like we are. But we're doing it on our own. We have to have agents that we're giving some of our paychecks to help put our names out there, to find a sponsorship. It's about time that we wake up and we realize that, I mean, I'm not in favor of obscene greediness and wealth. But damn, if you want to stay wealthy and you so damn greedy, make money off of us. Like, it will work. It can work. Paying us is not going to strip your pockets. It won't. So, thank you for joining me again. This episode, we stepped outside of the files again, but as I said, it's Women's World Cup, so we got to address the topic at hand. And I think that we need to keep these conversations going, keep making noise, keep pissing people off, bothering folks, because sometimes they give you what you want just because you're annoying as hell. I could be annoying as hell, and I will be, but y'all know what to do. Follow on the Instagram page, 440 Files. You can request to follow me on my page and Pinky. The TikTok, 440 Files. I will add to that. Like I said, I'm trying to get into that app. It's a bit of a struggle, but I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna make some more videos. Follow on the YouTube page, 440 Files. adding in more closed captions to those videos for my foreign friends out there who need the words because I be speaking fast or English isn't your first language. So keeping up on that. Hit me up in the email for any criticisms, questions, comments that you want to make. 440files@gmail.com. And the last episode is now up on YouTube. I will be adding this video up hopefully sooner. Did take a bit for it to upload last time. Yeah, I think that's about it. Keep watching the World Cup. Add to those views. Keep buying stuff. Support your women's teams. Give us your money. Invest in women's football. And check back in 2 weeks and let's kick it together. Bye, y'all.